Nature, when left to universal laws, tends to produce regularity out of chaos. Even philosophers will praise war as ennobling mankind, forgetting the Greek who said a war is bad in that it begets more evil than it kills. I had therefore to remove knowledge, in order to make room for belief. If the truth shall kill them, let them die. What are the aims which are at the same time duties? They are perfecting of ourselves, the happiness of others. An organized product of nature is that in which all the parts are mutually ends and means. Human beings are never to be treated as a means but always as ends. Act only according to that maxim whereby you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. Every man is to be respected as an absolute end in himself, and it is a crime against the dignity that belongs to him as a human being, to use him as a mere means for some external purpose. Man's duty is to improve himself, to cultivate his mind, and, when he finds himself going astray, to bring the moral law to bear upon himself. The greatest evil that can oppress civilized peoples derives from laws, not, indeed, so much from actual present or past laws, as from the never-ending and constantly increasing arming for future war. The ultimate destiny of the human race is the greatest moral perfection, provided that it is achieved through human freedom, whereby alone man is capable of the greatest happiness. Apart from moral conduct, all that man thinks himself able to do in order to become acceptable to God is mere superstition and religious folly. The only objects of practical reason are therefore those of good and evil, for by the former is meant an object necessarily desired according to a principle of reason, by the latter one necessarily shunned, also according to a principle of reason. Act so as to use humanity, yourself and others, always as an end and never as a means to an end. You must, therefore you can. A free will and a will subject to moral laws are one and the same thing. Rules for happiness: something to do, someone to love, something to hope for. All perception is colored by emotion. The instruction of children should aim gradually to combine knowing and doing. Among all sciences, mathematics seems to be the only one of a kind to satisfy this aim most completely. Aristotle can be regarded as the father of logic, but his logic is too scholastic, full of subtleties, and fundamentally has not been of much value to the human understanding. It is a dialectic and an organon for the art of disputation. Among all nations, through the darkest polytheism glimmer some faint sparks of monotheism. A categorical imperative would be one which represented an action as objectively necessary in itself, without reference to any other purpose. From the crooked timber of humanity, never was a straight thing made. Os so krummen hals, als woraus der Mensch gemacht ist, kann nichts ganz gerades Jesmet werden. Out of the crooked timber of humanity, no straight thing can ever be made. A single line in the Bible has consoled me more than all the books I ever read besides. If we were to suppose that mankind never can or will be in a better condition, it seems impossible to justify by any kind of theodicy the mere fact that such a race of corrupt beings could have been created on earth at all. Our intellect does not draw its laws from nature, but it imposes its laws upon nature. Nature, even in chaos, cannot proceed otherwise than regularly and according to order. One who makes himself a worm cannot complain afterwards if people step on him. The sum total of all possible knowledge of God is not possible for a human being, not even through a true revelation. But it is one of the worthiest inquiries to see how far our reason can go in the knowledge of God. All our knowledge falls within the bounds of experience. Psychologists have hitherto failed to realize that imagination is a necessary ingredient of perception itself. Two things fill the mind with ever new and increasing admiration, and are, the oftener and more steadily we reflect on them, the starry heavens above and the moral law within. Thoughts without content are empty, intuitions without concepts are blind. Freedom is that faculty that enlarges the usefulness of all other faculties. For peace to reign on earth, humans must evolve into new beings who have learned to see the whole first. There is a limit where the intellect fails and breaks down, and this limit is where the questions concerning God and free will and immortality arise. A lie is the abandonment and, as it were, the annihilation of the dignity by man. The wish to talk to God is absurd. We cannot talk to one we cannot comprehend, and we cannot comprehend God, we can only believe in Him. Man's greatest concern is to know how he shall properly fill his place in the universe and correctly understand what he must be in order to be a man. God put a secret art into the forces of nature so as to enable it to fashion itself out of chaos into a perfect world system. Thoughts without content are empty, intuitions without concepts are blind. The understanding can intuit nothing, the senses can think nothing. Only through their union can knowledge arise. In all judgments by which we describe anything as beautiful, we allow no one to be of another opinion. Man relates to material things through direct insight rather than reason. Is it reasonable to assume a purposiveness in all the parts of nature and to deny it to the whole? The will is conceived as a faculty of determining oneself to action in accordance with a conception of certain laws, and such a faculty can be found only in rational beings. War itself requires no particular motivation, but appears to be ingrained in human nature and is even valued as something noble. Indeed, the desire for glory inspires men to it, even independently of selfish motives. If we knew that God exists, such knowledge would make morality impossible. For if we acted morally from fear or fright, or confident of a reward, then this would not be moral. It would be enlightened selfishness. Ours is an age of criticism, to which everything must be subjected. God, freedom, and immortality are untenable in the light of pure reason. Upon the solution of this problem, or upon sufficient proof of the impossibility of synthetical knowledge a priori, depends the existence or downfall of metaphysics. Act in such a way that you treat humanity, whether in your own person or in the person of any other, never merely as a means to an end, but always at the same time as an end.